Sari gari ga pa da sa da sari sa da pa ga pa da sa da sa. Namaste and welcome to yet another episode of Sing with Sunita. In our previous episodes, we discussed the origin of swars, how the scales were formed, aro, avro, how the 12 notes were formed, and how thaaths were formed. Today is a very special episode because I've invited on the show a dear friend, Vivek Kaisare, who is going to be talking and sharing some facts about the sitar, and he's hopefully going to be able to join in with me for maybe some jamming. So I'd like to introduce and welcome Vivek Kaisare. Hi Vivek, welcome to Sing with Sunita.
Thank you for having me, Sunita.
I'm so happy you could join in today. I know you are extremely busy. Maybe you can talk to our viewers about the sitar, maybe explain a little bit about it. Then we'll see how it goes and maybe we can play something together.
Sure, that sounds like a plan. So I should caveat something though, because I wouldn't certainly not consider myself a expert on the sitar. I'm sure there's better people who can explain it, but I will do my best to kind of share with you what I know.
And I'm sure you're being modest. Okay.
All right, so a little bit about the sitar. Why don't we talk a little bit about the history,
Okay.
maybe a little bit of the classification, the parts of the sitar, and then maybe we can talk a little about styles and some specific things about it. So the history is unfortunately not very clear. We do know that the sitar was probably invented or at least designed in the way you see it currently around the 1700s. And you can't attribute it to any particular person. There's a lot of confusion about that, unfortunately, but that's not important. What we do know is that it is a sort of a blend of a Persian instrument called the sitar. Seh meaning three, and tar, of course, is strings or metal strings.
Seh is 3, not 6.
No, it's not 6, it's 3.
Okay.
And that is an interesting point. So that, and then it's a blend, like I said, with the tanpura or the tambura from India. And so that leads me into the classification and the parts of the sitar. So the parts really are, I would say, twofold. Parts that are unplayed, and parts that are played. They both contribute to the sound, the very peculiar sound of the sitar.
So what is the unplayed and what is the played?
Yeah, so the unplayed ones are what is called a gold. It's called a tumba.
Tumba, okay.
And then there is the front surface of it, which is called a tabli. And really this is the bridge is the most important component of the sitar because it actually provides its sonic signature. And there's different ways to kind of voice the instrument based on how the bridge is set up.
What is the bridge called?
It's called the javari.
Javari, okay.
And of course so that's the non-playing parts that actually have a signature sound of sitar without you saying anything about it or playing it, right? And then there are the played parts of it. Played parts are you have frets and you have 6 strings.
These are the frets?
These are the frets, okay. Right? The metal ones, the polished ones. There are 6 strings in the case of this sitar. We'll talk about different types of sitar too. There are 6 strings in this sitar, and there is a specialty of the sitar, which is the sympathetic strings that run underneath.
Okay.
So the uniqueness of this thing about sitar is when you play a note on the top frets, the bottom strings actually resonate and sort of vibrate on their own, just with the energy created from the top. And it gives you a little bit of a sustain, just like a voice.
Okay.
And so it's because they wanted to kind of make it as vocal as possible. So now when we talk about the parts, I did mention something about the tumba and the tabli. Now we'll talk a little bit about the tuning pegs. These are called kutis. These are the small ones for the tarab strings that I told you, which are underneath.
The lower one.
Yeah, these ones, these. And then there are the bigger kuntis that are for the 6 strings on top. Okay, and then there are of course these tuning beads and stuff to do some fine tuning. So that sort of comprises, this is of course the headstock like any guitar or any kind of instrument. So in terms of classification, because it has a resonator, the tumba is essentially a resonating body. It's made of a gold. And because it has frets and a neck, it automatically falls under the classification of a chordophone, a lute. Specifically. So there are lutes and there are zithars. Zithars are like the santoor or any instrument which is played with an open string. So for example, like the lira. That's an open string instrument, so you just play the entire string, and those are called zithers. But if you have frets and if you are playing, on the neck of the string combined with a sort of a resonator, it starts to be called a lute. So that is essentially the classification. Now, in terms of styles of playing, there are 2 or 3 main styles, as I've kind of heard and learned.
Gharanas or styles? Is that
it's Gharanas is a very interesting sort of. It has reached a different point now because, as you know, in the past, it used to be literally within the family for a long period of time, and now, of course, it's come down to styles of playing. So there are, and they call these things baj. So a baj is is specific to a particular gharana. So there is the classic, Ravi Shankar. Everybody has heard of Ravi Shankar ji, and that's one particular. So he comes from the Mahihar gharana. You have Vilayat Khan Sahab, who comes from the Imdad Khani gharana, and the sitar. By the way, this one is an Imdad Khani sitar.
Oh, nice.
And so it's voiced for vocals more than instrumental kind of style of playing. And then there's a third style, actually, people who are really sort of follow this sitarist a lot. His name is Nikhil Banerjee.
Oh, of course.
And of course he's
who hasn't heard of him?
Absolutely. So he had some of his own variations in the sitar. So all these particular styles require their own kind of playing techniques and certain things that are strengths and weaknesses of their own sitar. So in the case of the Vilayat Khani or the Imdad Khani Gharana, there aren't too many what you call bass strings, and it's meant essentially for a very vocal kind of sort of rendition. Others are more sort of oriented towards the thrupad and all those kinds of things. So it's just a function of how the preferences on playing.
So I don't know if you would like to play Sari Gama Pathanisa, Sunita Kapur Magarisa, just like the basic scale for because we've been talking about the basic scale.
Okay.
Thank you. That was wonderful. So Vivek, I have a question. Why do the frets on the sitar look different from other instruments like the guitar?
Now, actually, that is a very astute observation because I actually forgot to mention. I explained, what the taraf strings are at the bottom and the sympathetic strings, but I did not talk about the strings. So I appreciate the reminder. So on the frets, what is really special about the sitar compared to many other instruments, mostly fretted instruments, is these are curved, frets that sit on top of the sympathetic strings. Okay, so it allows for the sympathetic strings to pass underneath. Okay, so that's function number one. The second function is, actually it's better to kind of demonstrate it a little bit, is, there's a couple of ways to hit a note. So you can do it with the frets, obviously, right? Yeah. But there's the alternative way and the preferred way on the sitar is to play it in the gaiki or in the singing fashion. So you get a bit of an arc with every...
Like a meat.
Like a meat. Huh. That's the exact word. So when you're able to actually pull the string and then hit that note on the curved fret, you couldn't do that if you didn't have a curved fret.
Right.
And when you do hit that note, eventually what happens is it excites the string that is beneath it. So I'll quickly show it to you. And you get a resonant sound from the string underneath. So it's a very clever design actually. And one more thing I should kind of point out, which is different from many other lutes, it is probably the most ergonomic design. There are, of course, you have Rudra Venas, you have other Venas, and you have different kinds of lute instruments, sarod even. But I would say, probably the sarod and the sitar are most ergonomic. If you think about when somebody's sitting on a sitar, once you get into this pose, I don't even have to balance the neck on my hand because it's just between my legs and the hand. Once that sits, it is completely, so your hand is free to move without having to carry the weight of the neck. So it's a very, very ingenious design actually, provided that you can sit this long.
I mean, yeah, that's practice, right?
Correct.
Yeah, even though हम लोग जब रियाज करने के लिए बैठते हैं तानकोरे के साथ में, तो कुछ टाइम बाद थकान तो होती है, लेकिन फिर आदत हो जाती है.
बिल्कुल.
या तो ऐसे बैठते हैं या ऐसे बैठते हैं.
Yeah.
So what do you suggest, Vivek? What rag should we do?
Well, why don't we take something which is everybody's favorite and everybody likes, and it's a simple basic rag that everybody can appreciate. Yaman.
Absolutely. I think that'll be the perfect rag. I've also been getting a lot of messages that please do something on Rag Yaman or talk about it or sing something in Rag Yaman because it's apparently very, very popular and it is a beautiful rag, no doubt. So since you're here with us today, Vivek, why don't you play Aro Abro of Rag Yaman on the sitar?
Sure.
Information about Rag Yaman. Rag Yaman is derived from Thaath Kalyan. It has all the 7 notes present in it, so Sare Gama Padhanisa, or rather Nire Gama Padhanisa, Sani Thapa Magarisa. So the Jati is Sampurna. The most important note or the body is Ga, and the second most important note or the Sambadi is Mi. And Gane ka samay or the time that when it's sung, it sounds the best or the most beautiful is शाम के 8 से 10 बजे और रात्रि का प्रथम प्रहर or 8 to 10 p.m. in the evening. How about we do the pakad as the catchphrases in the rag?
Certainly. Why not? You can give it a shot.
I don't know if you know this song, Chandan Sabadan, composed by the amazing, incredible Kanyaji Anandji Bhai, and I had the privilege of working with them doing concerts, and we didn't really have like a live sitar player in that, so I'm really looking forward to doing this with you.
No pressure, but yes, why not? That's a nice song.
Great, so let's try this.
चंदन सावदन चंचल चितवन धीरे से तेरा ये मुस्काना मुझे दोष न देना जगवारों मुझे दोष न देना जगवारों हो जाए अगर दिल दीवाना विशाल जैसे नील गगन पंछी की तरह खो जाऊं मैं सरहाना जो हूँ तेरी बाहों का, अंगारों पे सो जाऊं मैं। मेरा बैरागी मन डोल गया, मेरा बैरागी मन डोल गया, देखी जोदा तेरी मस्ताना। चंदन सा बदन चंचल चितवन।
Maybe we should take a minute to just pay our respects to some of the musicians who backed all our playback singers in the
Absolutely,
past.
yes.
And the reason I say this is nowadays everything has become a lot easier with synthesizers, and you can create all kinds of sounds and you can kind of program things and everything. But there was a time, as you remember, back in the 60s and 70s and even in the 70s, where you used to have a whole orchestra of sitars or sarods or mixed instruments playing together, backing up this
So
one
hard,
song.
I can imagine.
Yes, and it's particularly hard because you literally have to play a little part, fast or slow, whatever that be. It has to be exactly right because you're being recorded,
Yeah.
and you get out of it. And this is very, very difficult to do actually. Of course, classical setting, you have an alap, you have a chance to warm your hands up, and then you can present your Raag. Of course, the classical music setting has its own challenges, and it's very difficult.
Of course,
But
yes.
in this case, people think that, oh, it's like Bollywood music, and it's not really that
दो
easy.
चार लाइनें क्या हो सकता है?
It is very difficult to play that too. So we should just kind of appreciate that.
I agree. I totally agree with you. Absolutely. That was really fun, Vivek. Let's try a bandish now.
Sure.
Raga?
Yeah.
So there's this beautiful bandish composed by Ustad Fayazna Saab, Raga Gharana. So maybe we can try that out. so much more about the sitar, but I guess as we keep going, we'll talk more and we'll reveal more about it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Surely.
Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video and are looking forward to learning more about Indian music, then don't forget to subscribe to my channel right above here. And for notifications on newer videos, don't forget to hit the bell icon right below here. Till then, keep singing.